Welcome to today's episode, where we dive into stories that test our ideas about right and wrong. Today's topic is a heavy but important one: bullying and forgiveness. Bullying can leave scars that last a lifetime, and sometimes the very people who hurt us years ago come back asking for forgiveness. But what happens when the bully reaches out, begging to make amends? Should we accept their apology and try to rebuild a friendship? Or is it okay to protect ourselves and keep our distance? Our story focuses on a 25-year-old woman who was bullied mercilessly in high school. Years later, her former bully contacts her, filled with regret and guilt, begging for forgiveness. But she's not sure if she can forgive him fully, or if she should even try to be friends. So here's the question for today. Am I the butthole for refusing to be friends with someone who made my life a nightmare? As we go through this story, think about the balance between forgiveness, healing, and protecting yourself from old wounds. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and high school was one of the toughest times of my life. I wasn't like the popular kids. I was a bit chubby, around 130 pounds and 160 centimeters tall. I also had a stutter that showed up when I got nervous or felt scared, especially around people who were mean or bullying me. This made me feel really vulnerable and alone. One boy in particular, Jake, made my life miserable. Jake was in my grade and quickly became the worst bully I faced. Unlike others who just teased me occasionally, Jake's bullying was constant and cruel. He would follow me on my way home from school, sometimes pushing me into bushes or worse, he even pushed me dangerously close to traffic. The worst was when we went on a school trip, and Jake found out I couldn't swim. Without a second thought, he pushed me into a lake. It was terrifying, and I felt completely helpless. Jake's bullying wasn't just physical. It was emotional, too. He would mock my appearance in front of others, call me names, and spread rumors that made me feel like I didn't belong anywhere. Every day felt like a struggle to survive. The bullying took a huge toll on my mental health. After one particularly harsh day where Jake made fun of my looks again, I reached a breaking point. I tried to end my pain by taking sleeping pills. Thankfully, my uncle found me just in time and rushed me to the hospital. I was in a coma for 11 days, and that experience changed everything. I couldn't go back to the school where I had been so hurt, so my family decided to homeschool me for my senior year. During those dark times, only 2 girls from school, Kate and Sarah, reached out to check on me at the hospital. Their kindness meant a lot, and we've stayed close ever since. After high school, I moved away from that town to start fresh and heal from everything that had happened. After 7 long years away, I found myself back in my hometown. The reason was bittersweet. My cousin was getting married. I decided to come a week early to spend some time with my parents before the big day. Even though I was looking forward to seeing family, I felt a deep anxiety and dread creeping in. Returning to the place where I was bullied so badly wasn't easy. Memories I had tried to forget flooded my mind. One evening, my old friends Kate and Sarah invited me to a bar nearby. It was just supposed to be a casual night out, a chance to relax and catch up. But as we talked and laughed, something caught my eye. At first, I didn't recognize him. Then Sarah whispered to me, "That's Jake." My heart started pounding. I hadn't seen him in years, and the memories of his cruelty hit me like a wave. Part of me wanted to run away, but I tried to stay calm. I decided to pretend like I didn't notice him and focused on my friends instead. Even though I felt anxious and uneasy, I didn't want to cause a scene or make things worse. That night, I kept thinking about what it would mean to see Jake again after all this time. Would he still be the same person? Could he have changed? Or would this encounter reopen old wounds? I had no idea what to expect, but I knew things were about to get complicated. As the night went on, Jake suddenly approached our group just as we were about to leave. I wasn't sure what to do. My first reaction was hesitation. I wasn't ready to face him. But he said, "Hi," with a nervous smile, and I decided to be polite, returning the greeting without showing any anger. He tried to make small talk, asking how I'd been and what I was doing in town. It felt awkward, like we were strangers pretending everything was normal. I answered briefly but kept my distance. I didn't want to encourage him or get drawn into a conversation that might stir up painful memories. When our Uber arrived, we said goodbye, and I thought that would be the end of it. But a few days later, I got an email from Jake. I was shocked he even knew how to reach me. The email was long, filled with apologies and regrets. He said he was deeply sorry for everything he had done, and that he had been haunted by guilt since he heard about my suicide attempt. Reading his words stirred up a mix of emotions inside me. Was he really sorry? Could I forgive him? Or was this just another way to control me? I didn't know how to respond, and the suspense of what to do next weighed heavily on me. A few days after our awkward meeting at the bar, an email arrived from Jake. My heart raced as I opened it, unsure what to expect. The email was long and heartfelt, filled with remorse that seemed genuine. He admitted that he had been a terrible person back in high school and was deeply ashamed of how he treated me. He said he had been haunted by guilt for years, especially after hearing about my suicide attempt. Jake expressed regret over every cruel thing he did. The pushing, the teasing, the way he made me feel worthless. He said it broke him inside knowing that his actions caused such pain. The tone of the email was sincere, and for the first time I saw a side of him that felt almost human, vulnerable even. Reading his words stirred a complex mix of feelings in me. On one hand, I wanted to forgive him, to let go of the hate that had been a heavy weight on my heart for so long. I replied simply, telling him that I forgave him because holding on to anger wouldn't help either of us. But I made it clear that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or pretending nothing happened. Despite my words of forgiveness, inside, I was conflicted. Was his apology truly sincere, or just a way to ease his guilt? Could I trust him after all that had happened? I wasn't ready to erase those years of pain with a single email. My boundaries were firm, and I wasn't willing to rush into anything that might reopen old wounds. The apology left me with more questions than answers, and the weight of the past still hung heavily between us. I wanted to believe in change, but the scars from high school ran too deep to forget overnight. A week later, I ran into Jake again at the local pharmacy. Seeing him unexpectedly in such a casual setting made my stomach twist. He looked nervous but determined. After a brief greeting, he asked if we could talk outside, away from the crowd. I agreed, curious but cautious. Jake's voice was quieter this time, filled with vulnerability. He asked if we could go out for dinner, just as friends to catch up and maybe find some closure. His request shocked me. I hadn't expected him to want to reconnect, especially on such friendly terms. I took a deep breath and gently declined. I explained that forgiveness didn't mean I wanted to be friends. The memories and pain from our past were too fresh, and being friends with him felt impossible. I told him I needed to protect myself and that being reminded of those years wouldn't help my healing. Jake's face fell and I could see the raw guilt and sadness there. He admitted that he still struggled to forgive himself and that my refusal made him feel like I hadn't truly forgiven him. He said the guilt was eating him up inside, and he hoped dinner could be a step toward healing for both of us. Despite his emotional plea, I stood firm. I told him I couldn't force myself to do something that would only make me uncomfortable just to ease his conscience. My silence was my answer. As he walked away, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. This was far from over, but I knew I had to keep my boundaries strong. The suspense of what might come next weighed on me, but I was determined not to lose myself in the past again. Just 3 hours after our brief conversation outside the pharmacy, another email arrived from Jake. This one felt heavier, more desperate. He confessed that despite my forgiveness, he couldn't forgive himself. He said that unless he felt completely sure I truly forgave him, his guilt would never fade. He wrote that my refusal to even have dinner with him made him feel like the past was still alive and hurting us both. Reading his words, I felt a mix of frustration and disbelief. Why was it my responsibility to make him feel better? Why did he expect me to fix his guilt? I replied firmly, telling him that I had already forgiven him, and if he couldn't move past his feelings, he needed to talk to a therapist. It wasn't fair to expect me to sacrifice my peace just to ease his conscience. Inside, I wrestled with confusion. Was I being too harsh? Was my refusal making things worse? But I knew deep down that forcing myself to interact with him would only reopen old wounds. Forgiveness didn't mean erasing boundaries or forcing friendship. It meant letting go of hate, but not pretending everything was okay. Jake's email and my response only deepened the tension. I felt trapped between wanting to move on and the weight of his ongoing guilt pulling me back. The emotional turmoil was exhausting, and I wondered if there was ever going to be closure. Feeling overwhelmed, I decided to talk to my parents about the whole situation. I expected their support, but instead, they surprised me. They told me I was being too harsh on Jake and that I should suck it up for just one dinner. According to them, helping him forgive himself was important, and one meal wouldn't hurt. Their words hit me hard. I felt anger bubbling up. How could they side with someone who had caused me so much pain? It felt like they were minimizing my suffering and asking me to prioritize Jake's feelings over my own. I tried to explain that forgiveness didn't mean friendship or forcing myself into uncomfortable situations, but they didn't seem to understand. The conversation grew tense, revealing old wounds beneath the surface. I realized my parents might feel guilty too, for not stopping the bullying when it happened. Maybe that's why they wanted me to be the bigger person now, to heal old family scars. I felt caught between loyalty to my parents and protecting myself. Their pressure confused me, and for the first time I doubted whether I was doing the right thing. Was I really being too harsh? Or was this just another way the bullying continued to affect my life? The uncertainty gnawed at me. I wanted peace, but instead, I was stuck in a battle between my own feelings and the expectations of those closest to me. The suspense hung heavy, and I wasn't sure where to turn next. As I sit with everything that has happened, I find myself revisiting the scars the bullying left on me, scars that run deeper than anyone can see. Forgiveness wasn't easy. It took years of healing and self-work to even reach that point. But forgiveness never meant erasing what happened or pretending I wasn't hurt. It didn't mean I had to invite Jake back into my life. The thought of being friends with him terrifies me. Friendship requires vulnerability, trust, and safety. Things I lost long ago when he turned my school years into a nightmare. Even though I've forgiven him, I still fear reopening those wounds, risking my fragile peace just to make him feel better. That's a price I'm not willing to pay. Part of me feels empathy for his guilt. I understand that carrying shame and regret can be unbearable. But empathy doesn't mean I'm obligated to be his emotional crutch or to soothe his conscience at my expense. My first responsibility is to protect myself. And right now, that means keeping distance. The battle inside me rages between wanting to believe he's truly changed and needing to guard my heart. There's a tension between kindness and self-preservation, between compassion and survival. I don't have easy answers, and some days the weight feels unbearable. This internal struggle is ongoing. I'm caught in a limbo of healing and hesitation, unsure how much I can or should give without losing myself again. I wonder if true forgiveness is ever fully possible when the past still lingers like a shadow, waiting to be disturbed. To sum it all up, years after enduring relentless bullying that almost destroyed me, Jake, my bully, reached out to apologize. I forgave him long ago, but when he asked to be friends, I said no. I believe forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or reopening painful chapters. It means letting go without having to invite someone back into your life. Despite Jake's guilt and his pleas, I'm not willing to sacrifice my healing or comfort for his peace of mind. My parents think I should just suck it up and have dinner with him, but I disagree. This isn't about cruelty. It's about boundaries and self-respect. So, here I am, asking you, am I the butthole for refusing friendship with my former bully? Is forgiveness truly about wiping the slate clean, or can it coexist with distance? Can someone forgive and still protect themselves? I invite you to share your thoughts and judgments. How would you handle this? What does forgiveness mean to you? And where do we draw the line between healing and protecting our own hearts? Thank you for listening.